Folks, welcome back to the Crowd Assist podcast. I'm Maniac, joined by Ty B, Kevin Masari, I'm sorry, I said gents, I meant to say join when I meant to say gents. I am all out of whack, and we are coming out of the bye week. It's a completely different feeling. I mean, I can't recall feeling like this as a Bills fan anytime in my history. Gents, how are we feeling going into this big game against the Chargers?
Feeling great. Get healthy. Getting healthy means putting two players on IR, but it is what it is. The injury report's relatively clean with healthy scratches for the most part. There's some shocking names there on the list, but getting healthy, feeling good. Getting a sneaky Chargers team come in isn't great, but Sean McDermott's 4-0 off the bye week at home. Those are good numbers in your favor. So all you can do is put this beside us with all this COVID craziness, and luckily it hasn't affected this game like it has the Bills earlier this season. Steelers seem to have been affected badly by this whole situation. Denver now missing their quarterback room. Who knows if Baltimore and Pittsburgh play in general. So there's some crazy concerns if they delay week 12. So, who knows? You might as well get used to this. Enjoy this game because we don't know what's going to come ahead. And if, we have a gap or a break, maybe not. So lots to look forward to. But today's a big game with a pretty good underrated team coming to town. By statistics like this team, Ty, but I know you have some other statistics on your hands too.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident here going into it week 12 or 7-3, but nothing is guaranteed right now in the NFL. And it looks like one of these teams who likely is going to get to 10 wins in the AFC will be missing out on the playoffs. So you just don't want to be that team. You want to continue to rack up these wins, especially against AFC opponents for any tiebreaker scenarios, just in case. You just don't want to be that team who's on the outside looking in going into week 17, possibly a week 18 matchup. Who knows what's going to happen going forward. So we're in a good situation as it is. A winnable game here at home, going to be a lot of wind for Justin Herbert to put up with. So I'd like that. I think that bodes well in the Bills' favor. Josh Allen, a much stronger arm, not like terribly stronger. Justin Herbert can go over the top. He's got a decent little cannon on him, but just not the same power that Josh Allen has. That should hopefully be able to cut through these wins.
His touchdown pass, to Allen last week was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's the official report from the stadium in terms of weather?
So they're saying about 25 to 35 mile per hour winds, generally sustained throughout the day. It's already breezy this morning. It's going to continue throughout the game. Partly cloudy, should be around 50 degrees around game time. So nothing too spectacular when you're looking at the weather. But the wind, I think, could be a big factor. I think that's why we're seeing the over-under drop right now to 51.5.
No, did it really? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little more crystal clear than that, but that's typical late November. It's actually probably good for late November. So that helps. The East Coast game for LA to have to come from the West Coast, left to right. That's always a challenge. Even you saw Seattle struggle with it, who's historically good at that. It's just tough to play at 10 a.m. Yeah, that's right. And, if you look at it, Seattle says they do good at it, but they play a lot of primetime games where maybe they're coming over to the right coast when it's primetime and they're a little more adjusted. Going to the right coast on a 1 p.m. start is tough. That's a 10 a.m. start time for your body clock. It's tough. They can act like it doesn't matter. With COVID, teams were, coming out late Saturday. Sometimes they would say a week. You never really knew what they would do to adjust to that. Not right now. They're not doing that. So this is going to be a challenging game for a young quarterback to travel to this side of the country. Luckily, he doesn't have to deal with the crowd and the environment, but he does have to deal with some of the elements we just talked about on the weather report, and then, the whole body clock / road. They've only won one game on the road this year, so there are some of those elements there for LA. So if you get into the inactive reports, guys, which, I didn't think it would be important to even talk about as we knew mainly what was going on, but they did decide to activate, scratch Trent Murphy, one of their spot starters, as well as they're scratching Tyler Kroft, a guy that I thought I've heard all week how he's basically tight end one now, especially after that Knox performance against Arizona was not a good performance. So, everyone's saying, oh, Tyler Kroft's our number one tight end. Our number one tight end today couldn't get on the field over Lee Smith and former Max star Reggie Gilliam. So is that a cause for concern? I like to look into the inactives because, he's a guy that you couldn't even find a game plan for without John Brown. So they're more interested in having up a special team receiver in Kumaro as well as Lee Smith. So there's that on the board and the docket. And then you have, once again, Trent Murphy not being able to find the field, and they're going with a Darryl Johnson, a Justin Zimmer, AJ Epinesa, some of those, even Harrison Phillips is going to play today. So you're going with some of those more rotational guys, or a guy you're paying $10 million to. So there's just some initial, the cap scratches today, guys, over $15 million are sitting on your healthy scratch list. That's not going to get it done, especially late in the season. Is anybody, worried about that, or is it?
Yeah, you'd have to be crazy not to be worried about it. I mean, I'm trying my best to not do what I do best right now, which is overreact. I mean, this is very easy to overreact to. It's very alarming that Croft has really never, whatever you want to call it, blended into this offense. I mean, he's had spots where it seemed like, okay, this could be his time to break out. And Trent Murphy the exact same way. He ended last year on a little bit of a streak, started strong this year, but now it'll be the second time in 2 months, Tybee, he's inactive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's not what you want to see. But that does mean AJ Epinesa is back and healthy after that concussion, so that's good to see. I expect them to sort of think that, they're going to maybe lean on the run here, going with Lee Smith over Tyler Croft. I think he brings more in that blocking game for as far as trying to open up some holes and get some runs to the outside there. So I think that's where the game plan is going towards, and maybe they're thinking defensively that same sort of thing. Trent Murphy a little bit better at getting after the quarterback, but Epinesa a little more physical guy, could probably help you a little bit more against the run. So I think that's what they're doing. So I'm not going to try to overreact like Maniac said. I'm going to trust the coaches on this one making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to trust them on this stage, but I do think they prefer their second round picks a little bit. You saw a little bit of weird favoritism with Cody Ford when he was struggling. Obviously now goes to IR with the torn meniscus at some point. Got to think that has to do with the ankle injury. You're going to start to, they say that leads right to knee injuries when you have a lower leg injury. But anyways, when it comes to Cody Ford, they were finding positions to the point where Quentin Spain got cut because apparently he was upset that he got benched, which, not going to lie, if I just signed a deal and I was playing the same that I kind of was, and then I get benched because this guy needs to play his third position, I'd be a little salty. I don't know that I would handle it how he did, but that happened on the team. Now you have AJ Epinesa starting over Trent Murphy, which is another move that looks like they're favoring their second round pick, who hasn't gone off to a, like you said, hasn't gotten off to a great start, but does show that potential. So we'll see what that's able to do. That's $15 million where you could have had used other spots on this roster. You can say what you want. At the end of the day, that's not great to be in a playoff push race here and for the AFC East for the first time in many, many years.
And that's more of a knock on Brandon Beane than any of the coaching staff or any of that. Like they're just trying to put out the best team to win them a game on Sunday. And if those are the guys who aren't getting paid, well, that's unfortunate, and you got to be better in the front office.
Yeah, and I mean, but the one thing you'll say is you did read that Tyler Dunn article. I don't know, who had the chance to read that from last week or this week, I should say. And, McDermott was able to axe a lot of personnel decisions early on in his tenure. Mm-hmm. So we don't know if he still has that power to say, you know what, keep me Trent Murphy on this roster. He's going to be good enough rotationally. We're not going to find anybody, at this stage of free agency or this in the trade market that's going to be able to do what he does. So I do think he has some say to say, you know what, we like him in the rotation, at $10 million. I don't know. I don't know whose final decision that is to keep him on the roster. I thought Tyler Croft was an easy cut candidate all season, excuse me, preseason. I just didn't think he brought enough to the table, and, you're paying him a lot of money. You're paying him tight end one money. And then, so, we got to get over it. I wouldn't expect either to be on the roster next year. But that is $15 million that could have been allocated to a pass rusher or other positions that the team really needs. But, getting into the matchup a little bit, guys, a little bit less about inactives. On their end, though, you are going to be missing their number one cornerback. There's their second and third defensive ends. So really all they have is Bosa on that D-line, as well as, they're missing Kazir White, their top linebacker with Denzel Perryman, but White is on the COVID list. So they're missing 4 of their key 12 defensive players. You can get through 1 or 2. As you start to get to 3 and 4 and 5 missing defensive players on your normal rotation, that's going to be thin. It led to a really good Joe Flacco day last week, and that was with some of those names. So I think this is a game the offense needs to step up, similar to like we saw against Arizona, maybe without some of those lags we saw again in the second half This is a game where the offense needs to come in, produce against a weaker defense, especially today, a weaker defense, because honestly, the Chargers offense is full strength. It's full strength for the first time this season, for the most part, especially with Herbert underneath center and full strength. So it's going to be a tough challenge on these cornerbacks. They're just coming off of their injuries themselves, but the defense is healthy. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, a full Chargers offense healthy and a full Bills defense healthy minus Matt Milano, but fully healthy otherwise. That's a good battle, guys. Like, wouldn't you say that you know how good the Bills offense is, but that aside, that's where the game's going to be won today.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at this, the way this team matches up, at least defensively, they just gave up 28 points to the Jets with Joe Flacco at the helm like that. And, the Jets were still banged up. They're going to get everyone back this week. That's a different story. But that defense does not scare me. Everyone sort of the past few seasons, yes, they've been playing very well, but right now they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, as you've mentioned, and they're starting to pile up. Obviously, Casey Hayward going down with an injury last week, and a couple other guys as well. So when you're looking at that, that's where you're going to have to exploit them. If you can take out that defensive line, you can punish them physically early on. That's going to lead to opening things up later on in the game. So even if you're not getting, 5-6 yards of carry, if you're still able to get 3 yards and you're just winning, you're imposing your will right at, the point of attack there on the line, that's going to bode very well for you getting down the stretch of this game, especially if the defense is able to get some quick stops on the Chargers and force that defense to be out on the field more. Because when you look at the Chargers team, they've run the most plays out of any team, or second most plays out of any team in the entire NFL this season. So they run a quick offense. They like to run a lot of plays. And a lot of that also comes, I think, from them being behind a lot. So they're throwing the ball a lot. That's where you see some of these numbers being a little bit inflated for them. But I still think with all those injuries, it stacks up very well for this Bills team, who, as you mentioned earlier in the show, they're getting quite healthy. And looking at them defensively, they can match up, pretty well if that secondary can hang around. If you're able to get someone who can shut down Hunter Henry, then I think you can have a real good day on the defensive side.
And speaking of the defensive side, I think they were able to do a pretty good job of getting after Kyler Murray, given his speed and his elusivity. I thought they were able to do a pretty good job of getting after Russell Wilson the 2 games before the bye. So that'll be key today. We obviously don't want Herbert to sit back there all day with Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen running open downfield. But I want to talk to you guys about something as we roll on the Picasso'sPizza.net halftime show. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, get in the comments. What do you think about the inactives? What do you think the keys are for the win today? We are talking Bills-Chargers with just about 1 hour till kickoff. I want to talk about comfort for the Bills right now because I think they're very comfortable. Okay, terrible pun there. But 1 o'clock Sunday, undefeated. And when you look at the games they've played at 1 o'clock Sunday this year, they're averaging just short of 30 points per game. They're averaging 29.8 points per game when they play at 1 p.m. on Sunday. So I think there's something to be said with this team being comfortable. And it goes back to your original point, Kev. It is one of the biggest gambling tropes or anything in the sphere, and that is a West Coast team coming and playing a 1 p.m. game. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is always a difficult situation, even when you're an Anthony Lynn, even when you're a young team like the Chargers are.
Yeah, I think there is something to say that coming from left to right with the limited time of acclimation is a big deal. You can act like it's not. I know that I wouldn't prefer to do that, to have to play a 10 a.m. game right now. I think that's a challenge. I think you shouldn't make it an excuse if you're the Chargers. Yeah. It's not an excuse, but it does factor in. You need to get on them early. You'll see them start to after halftime. And, sometimes that could go into the struggles at third quarter. Teams are getting acclimated to the Bills, getting acclimated to the stadium, getting acclimated to the weather, getting acclimated to the time schedules. All that can happen in the third quarter. So I think you start to see some of that. And the Bills come out so hot. Brian Daboll's such a good play scripter, does struggle when he doesn't have that opportunity, in my opinion. So you'll see some good plays in the beginning. I'd like to see him take the ball and get ahead. I don't like to see the deferrals to put a good offense on the field and keep their bad defense on the bench. I don't love that move. I get the score before half and then score at the start of the third, but you need both of those things to happen and a stop to make that worth it. I don't think that you can just put a good offense on the field right off the bat. Though I will say, you guys know I love my special teams. No matter what team we're talking about, and when I'm talking, the Chargers are awful at special teams. This is the UB special teams of the
Oh
NFL.
no! Shots fired.
It is that poor.
McNulty's 100% on XPs this year.
Did you
Come
see
on.
that 50-plus field goal yesterday?
In all fairness, it's an act like you've been there before situation. He hadn't been there before this year. I don't blame him for, hooking one.
It was 48, 58. All right, I'll give you that. 48. You should be able.
Yeah, 48. I mean, the wins.
You should be able to at least try a normal field goal, not kick it low.
But that's a great point. Andre Roberts has been right on the verge of taking one back these past couple weeks. So maybe if there's an opportunity to do it, they've had a little chance to tweak with the bye and everything. Before we get into the action around the league and talk a little bit of fantasy before we head down the home stretch here, everybody tuning in on the Picasso's Pizza pregame show brought to you by the Crowd Assist Podcast. I'm Maniac here with Ty B and Kevin Massari. Just don't call him late for dinner. That's all you got to do. Again, like we said, this is the 1 p.m. Sunday game. We're right before we begin the primetime path to the playoffs, as I'm calling it, because 4 of the next 5 games for the Bills will be played at an unconventional time. It'll be either on a Saturday at 4:30 or in prime time. So I think it's very crucial to get this game. And gents, Kev, you were talking about getting healthy by the way of putting some players on IR and things like that. And one of the big ones for the Bills was John Brown. Obviously, not going to be good to have Smoke out of the lineup, but all the more crucial to get him healthy for a potential stretch run. So before we get into the rest of the NFL real quick, I want each of your most important player to step up today for the Bills from the receiving side to fill that void left by Smoke Brown. Let's start with Kev.
You know me. I'm on hashtag stream Gabe Davis. I think he's easily the guy. Could it come from outside the team? Could it be like Kenny Stills? I don't know. But it's a good time to need a receiver. Would he be looking for a home where he can play right off the bat in a high-profile offense on a team that's winning? Kenny Stills might be a name to watch out for. But right now, it's hashtag stream Gabe Davis. That's pretty obvious. I mean, everyone's, you got Dawson Knox there that needs to pick up some slack. That's what it's going to be. And could we see a little gadget Isaiah McKenzie? He's got to step in as well. But it's pretty obvious. He got a 4th-round pick. He's played decent at times. Hashtag stream Gabe Davis.
Yeah, for me, I think this is a game where you have to have Stephon Diggs really step up. Casey Hayward's out. You're going to be matched up on Chris Harris Jr. all day, generally speaking. He is getting up there in age. I think you can exploit that matchup all day long. This could be a game where you see Stephon Diggs really go off over 150 yards, I think. It just has all the recipes for that, where the Bills maybe with this win go to a little bit more of the running game, and then when they get to that play action, Diggs is going to be wide open, making those quick moves in his patterns that just give him that extra space of separation to allow Josh Allen to give him a window to throw the ball into. I like Stephon Diggs really. He knows what he has to do. He knows he's a bona fide number one. He's comfortable here in Buffalo. He loves the role. He relishes it. Those hands demand the ball. They want the ball at all times. He wants the ball in his hands. And I think today is the day to feed Diggs.
Today may very well be the day to feed Diggs. So make sure you're feeding yourself with Picasso's Pizza. And let's get a look around the league, gentlemen. We got a great 1 p.m. slate. It's kind of hard when, the Bills are playing it. Obviously, you got the 7-3 Bills hosting the 3-7 Chargers. We got Derek Carr and the Raiders going on the road to the Falcons. That'll likely be a shootout of some type, even though Julio Jones has been ruled out. Let me list the rest of the slate real quick, and I'll let you guys get into the games that appetize you the most. You got Giants-Bengals with no Burrow. You got Titans-Colts in a big divisional matchup there, both at 7-3. Panthers-Vikings, kind of the Teddy Bridgewater Bowl, I guess you could call it. Cardinals-Patriots, Dolphins-Jets, Browns-Jaguars, rounding out the 1 p.m. slate. So before we get into the later part of it, I think it's pretty clear for me, guys. I'm looking at Cardinals-Patriots after, what the Cardinals did to us 2 weeks ago, and with the fact that the Patriots are kind of on the precipice of, out of the hunt, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to not look at the Titans-Indy game, though. That game directly affects the Bills. I don't know I've seen some weird COVID. Is there anything going on in that game? I can't I can't
well, with
recall.
the Titans, it wouldn't surprise me. Let's face it.
Yeah,
It's basically
seriously.
their middle name. Kev, do you know off the cuff? I mean, let's face it. It's tough to even know in week 15, 16 what you need to know. Do you know what we prefer in that game? I'd assume a Titans loss since we've already played them and lost, right?
I mean, I think the statistic. Okay, guys, there's two different statistics when it comes to who you're choosing to win. One, do you just want to make sure the top 7 are locked up, right? There is, Ty already said it on the show, there is going to be a 10-win team that's not going to make the playoffs. So statistics would tell you would prefer the team to lose who makes sure you clinch for a playoff spot. That is, you want Tennessee to beat Indy. Now, if you're a guy that really cares that you prefer the 3 seed over the 4 seed, if that's important to you in a year where there's going to be a lot of, all those teams might have 10 wins anyways, go ahead and root for Indy in this one. I'm in the opinion that I want to clinch a playoff spot. The road to that, statistics wise, is a Tennessee win, because that gives you the tiebreaker to Indianapolis, which you won't have over Tennessee. So that's the idea, is that you gain a percentage point or two in the playoffs all around if you prefer to choose to have Tennessee win that game. Now, if you're a guy that's really into the seedings, once again, have at it. I care that I don't want to get bad beaten at the end of the year.
When I'm looking at this 1 p.m. slate, though, Maniac, game that's sticking out to me, it may not be the eye-popping matchup, but the game where the free money is, Giants at Bengals, a must-win team or game for this Giants team who's been frisky early in the season, and they seem to maybe be putting things together. Daniel Jones has been playing better. They're figuring things out with the running back position without Saquon Barkley. I think, 6.5-point favorites, they should be able to win by a touchdown going up against Ryan Finley, who was only able to produce 30 yards on his 10 pass attempts last week in relief. I don't trust him at all with that Bengals offense. You saw how much Joe Burrow was getting abused in that pocket all season long. It's going to be the same thing for Ryan Finley today, and I don't think he's going to be able to keep it close enough to cover that. I think the Giants are able to win by at least a touchdown there.
Okay, I like that pick. Honestly, the Bengals could be kind of team with their head cut off, losing a leader like Burrow. Obviously, he was being heralded around the league as one of the, a rookie who's going to basically break all the records. I think, we'll get some entertaining games, whether it's the Chargers, Bills, Raiders, Falcons, Titans, Colts, Panthers, Vikings, Cardinals, Patriots. Those are all entertaining on paper to me. The Browns Jaguars game, not really so much, but it'll be interesting to see if they can't take care of that backup in Jacksonville. But my pick for the early slate, I think we got a lot of angles going this way. You got Fitzmagic starting. You got Darnold coming back. You got Frank Gore talking about how he doesn't want to go out 0-16. I think it's kind of the perfect storm for the Jets to get on the board with a win today. I know it's not the hottest take because
you're
I
right.
know other
It's a
people
huge
made
game.
it, but I think that's if
get
they're going to get a
almost
win,
all
it's
their
a huge
pass
spot
catchers
for them.
back.
I'll give you a statistic for you, Maniac, to in the Bills' perspective to kind of talk about the importance. I was going about percentage here, percentage there. That's boring stuff. If you were looking for Indy or Tennessee, but if you look at this game, the Miami, with Fitz versus the Jets with potentially full strength Jets with Adam Gase calling the plays, if they drop that game, the Bills' division percentage goes to 92%, 93% to make the playoffs, 94% to make the playoffs. That's pretty high. That's what you're looking for in one other game that's not yours. That's what you're looking for. However, if Miami wins as expected, those numbers drop to 82% in the division, obviously still high, but that's a 10 to 12% swing. It is an important game for the Bills. The Bills would gain the automatic tiebreaker, which they already have over the Dolphins based on my calculations. No matter what happens in the season, they will have the tiebreaker if they're tied at the end of the season. However, this would clinch it. No questions asked. It would put them a game plus back based on the Bills result. Could be 2 games without the tiebreaker. Too much to overcome. It's a big game. Maniac, I know it looks like a stupid game on paper.
You said it best. It's kind
a 10%
of deceiving.
game.
With the Titans having beaten the Bills, you kind of let your heart get the best of you. It's a 7-3 matchup between them and the Colts. But you said it. If this game propels the Bills 10% towards the playoffs, towards the goals of the division and everything, then all eyes for me, which are 2 of them, are on that Dolphins and Jets game.
It's a lot of percentage points for a game that's not yours. That's how we'll say that.
First time all year, you'll get Sam Darnold, Mekhi Becton, Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, and Brashard Perriman all in the lineup today for the Jets, all healthy. But breaking news down from Bills Stadium. It looks like Josh Allen is currently taking snaps from Feliciano and Mitch Morse is snapping to Barkley. Don't know if that's anything with a change here in the starting lineup where it looked like Mitch Morse was going to be stepping back into the starting center
Didn't he
position.
just say that though?
He just said it this week. So that's going to be something to monitor as we get closer to game time.
It's one thing if we didn't know, but he said that.
He specifically addressed it this week, so that's definitely. And I want to talk to you guys about that. The Quentin Spain decision and a couple of decisions that are getting made here, because it's so easy after a big win to throw a hashtag trust the process out there, but these are really the decisions when they're being made, when the Trent Murphy inactives are being made, where you have to kind of bite your lip and truly trust the process. So I want to know your guys' quick take on 30 to 45 seconds. With this O-line shuffle that's been going on, is there a potential method to the madness here? Because you would think Morse and Feliciano both being on the offensive line is the clear-cut decision to me here, but clearly me and the people at home watching the Picasso's pregame show are clearly missing something.
Guys, the team loves Ike Butker. I will say that.
They
that.
do like Ike.
They like the Butker.
We like Ike.
I will say that. I know last year when he made the squad off of nowhere, they had to waive him for roster things going on last year. They were so upset that the Kansas City Chiefs claimed him. The second the Chiefs had to do the same and waive him for roster moves themselves, the Bills claimed him right back. He's seen the roster ever since. They never mess around with him. That's just a little backstory on Ike Butker. He got sneaky snaps in preseason that we didn't know about, and then really was one of their top reserve offensive linemen. The team moved away from other offensive linemen to keep him on the roster. He's now seen the lineup. They like what he can do from the left guard spot. I just think they're trying to keep him in the lineup. Now the bigger decision is they like Feliciano at center. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's not me.
Everyone keep that tape because you don't hear that from Kev very often.
Yeah, no, not often. I don't have an opinion on what's going on there. But it's based on Ty's report there, whatever he's seeing.
Marcel Jacques, shout out.
Okay, yeah, that's the case. He can go on and that McDermott doesn't do that much either. Well, he'll tell you something, and then that's not what it is.
Someone just tweeted at Nate Geary and asked him how many times he's taken snaps from the backup center because the starter is injury prone. And he's like, not that many times. This is not a normal occurrence. Especially the fact that it's going, the opposite way. Morse was also snapping to Barkley, which, I don't know if they were, just doing a few just in case they have to switch things around at some point, or if that's the only guy he's taking snaps from right now. That's what you should really be paying attention to.
It's got to be
switched back, but I'm not seeing anything on that front right now.
It's got to be just for reserve right now. I mean, that can't be that. You can't your head coach can't come out and say that and then bench him, right? Like this has got to be, like, you're right, like an injury prone situation to make sure that if something happens, or maybe there's some movement potentially, but you can't just walk out there with Brian Winters and Ike Butker and then act like you didn't say you're starting center. Like that is bizarre. That's bizarre.
By the way, before we enter out, speaking of bizarre, Nate has definitely made the jump from one-time collegiate quarterback actually played in a game to he could be an NFL quarterback. And you know why it is? It's because of this Broncos situation. The fact that they got, Kendall Hinton coming in and playing. He had some quote. He's like,
a touchdown more recently than Taysom Hill.
There you go.
Are you streaming him, by the way, Maniac?
He was not at ESPN yesterday. He was not in ESPN's database.
That's right.
Yesterday.
If you're in ESPN leagues, he's a receiver.
Yeah, is he? Yeah, what is he doing now? Is he even out there? Let me check. I'm going to see
if you're in a Yahoo league, snatch him up now, stream him in the flex, stream him at receiver 3, receiver 2, whatever your league plays, because that's a quarterback playing snaps, even if, that's...
he's athletic and he's going to get some rushing yards, probably get a rushing touchdown.
I can't see how that's not 15
Their team total
points.
is 10 today.
Yeah.
For over-under.
Yeah.
What's the total over-under for that game? Like 30?
I got it right here.
It was low when I picked it yesterday.
36 and a half.
So they dropped it. It was 40.
I'm telling you, I like 2 picks today that are outrageous. I like Jets money line, and I like Broncos.
I like the over in that game. How about that?
Oh, I mean, okay.
36 and a half, yeah.
That's so low. And even if it's a backdoor at the end, fine. But that's so low. I guess we can, that's a story for another show. But
Well,
I
Kev,
think
how about Denver's front? I mean, obviously with Taysom Hill dominating that front is going to be a key part of taking away a lot of what he does. I think Denver has a really good front to do that,
yeah, I agree. So I
even
mean,
without Von Elway.
there are some things that point to the under, hence the line. But I do think that I think Taysom Hill does his thing. I think it's hard to defend that right now. I like the over in that game, and Denver's interesting. Like, you don't know anything on Hinton. You're not ready for this type of offense. We've seen Miami run it against New England when they didn't have any other moves to make. I mean, it can work in a one game. It's nothing you'd want to run all season. It's not outlandish to think that they could compete in a 1 week scenario with a guy who's played quarterback. This isn't just a running back. If he can throw the ball a little bit, that's an interesting game. I want to watch Hinton. I'm streaming him in a money league. I think it's going to be a fun time to watch him, even if he ends up blowing up. But I think even on a floor for Hinton, you're talking 7 to 10 points that you can at least put away in your pocket, and maybe a 20-pointer. So I'm streaming Hinton. He started in 20% of Yahoo leagues right now. But guys, I'm still interested in what the heck's going on in the Bills O line. It's bizarre right now to see this. But in the Josh Allen video right now, the Bills just posted, it looks like Morse is in the starting unit. When Josh Allen's doing his little like rah, let's go team stuff. It looks like Morse is right there.
Yeah, it says he's starting. Biscaglia just posted Dawkins, Feliciano, Morse, Winners, Williams.
So they're going winners. So my Butker rant is now deemed useless. But you're right. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to see like Butker go in there and move Feliciano in at times based on different formations, personnel groups, and how the teams looked in the first quarter or something. They've done it before with other positions on the right tackle spot. So I think you'll see that today. I'm not going to think it's going to be those 5-all game. I don't think so.
Be very
I think you'll see some rotation. Yeah. Like we've seen that a bunch throughout the season. Them moving, and it's kind of a nice thing to be able to interchange if guys aren't succeeding with certain matchups with different guys. You can plug and play a little bit, knowing those guys are all NFL level, starting level for you is a great thing. So hopefully moving forward there's a little bit more stability there, but the current fluidity actually it bodes well for you. Let's just say you're getting Darrell Williams getting beat on the right tackle by Bosa with a bunch of speed moves. Well, you can move, maybe a faster tackle there instead of him, or, different things. You got options, which is nice.
Dude, there is no way that Denver doesn't cover plus 16.5. That's all I'm going to say. As we go to the second half of the games, we got New Orleans, Denver, San Fran, LA Rams. We got Kansas City, Tampa Bay. A lot of eyes are going to be on that matchup. Tom Brady versus Mahomes, obviously. Chicago, Green Bay in primetime tonight, and then Seattle, Philadelphia tomorrow, with Baltimore and Pittsburgh on tap for 7-10 Tuesday. So out of that whole slate, gents, before we move on to the X Factors in today's Bills game brought to you by Picasso's Pizza, what is your best bet? I mean, I know, Ty B, you had the Giants earlier, but obviously now that we have the remainder of the slate, both of you, if you want to jump in, your best play for this week in the National Football League.
I like the Rams. I think San Francisco's a mess. They don't have a home field. Not that this is playing in San Francisco in this game. I don't think that they have much going on right now. That they have all types of issues. They just lost their cornerback to a suspension, Quan Williams. Minus 5.5. I'm hammering that all day for the Rams at home. I like that. I like the Rams big in that game.
I like the over 44.5 in that game for the exact reasons you just said. I think the Rams are going to be out there. They're going to be looking to score. You've seen Jared Goff at times has really lit things up, especially in that second half against the Bills. Think about what he did against the Dolphins, even in that loss, over 500 yards of total offense. That team can really get things going. And against the 49ers team, who's been beat up most of the year with so many question marks surrounding him right now, I think that bodes well for a lot of Rams points. And when that happens, that defense might take some plays off. The Niners can find some stuff of their own, just enough to get you over that 44.5, probably get you into the 50s.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good one.
If you love me, I love going against the public. So, they're going to be all over Kansas City minus 3.5 after the Bucks kind of didn't play terribly on Monday Night Football, but obviously didn't win, didn't follow through. Brady stats all week. It's been in primetime. I see him having a big game. I know he's older, but he still loves shutting up the pundits when he can. So I like the Bucks to keep that one close, but a lot of good action today. And speaking of good action, it's almost just over half an hour away. We're getting details on starters. We're getting details on the stadium. Huge shout out to Ty B as we roll on the Picasso's Pizza pregame show. So let's start with Ty B. Who is your biggest X factor? Whether it's the run defense, it could be one player, it could be even Josh Allen. The biggest determinant on whether the Bills can get a big win out of this bye week.
He's been my guy for a little bit of a while now. He came up from the practice squad and he's played big minutes and made some big stops. Justin Zimmer, again, I think he has a standout performance here. You're going to have to shut down Austin Eckler. If you can keep that run game hemmed up, especially in the middle, you're going to be able to force Justin Herbert to have to throw into this wind over and over again. You can force him into some mistakes. I think his ball can hang up a little bit. Trey White can make some plays. Those safeties are absolute ball hawks. And then the key to that starts up front. And the first name that comes to my mind, because you're going to need someone who's not, your number one guy, because they rotate a lot there on that defensive line. Justin Zimmer, big few tackles today, and just looking like a stalwart up the middle.
Interesting. The keys to the game, I think you need to get after. Oh, X Factor. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah, big X Factor.
Big X Factor of the game is going to be Josh Norman. He's going to play.
Ooh.
He's going to be a guy that's going to be playing, I think, beside like a quarter the first time with Levi Wallace and Trey White. Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to do a lot of different things. You're going to be able to mix and match him. He's an X Factor. He punches similar to Zimmer, gets those big knockouts of the ball. It's a ball hawk. We all remember the Derrick Henry stiff arm that went for negative yardage because of the holding penalty. That's fine. We can remember that play. He did get bodied. But beside that, he's played good football when healthy. He's got good reviews, got good ratings. I think you can see him mixed and match. You can do a lot of different things with him. I'm not worried about Jalen Guyton, the Chargers' third receiver. I think you're going to be able to maybe look a little bit at Hunter Henry as their third receiver and put him there and guard him, or move Trey White in if you like Norman against Mike Williams or something. I don't know, but there's an X. That's why he's the X factor. And I think you can move him around. You can do whatever you want. And I think you can put him in different packages and not just rely on Taron Johnson in coverage. So I think that there's going to be some interesting mixing and matching. But I'm watching Josh Norman today as the X factor and watch him come up with one big play today.
I think you guys are seeing a constant theme. You got Ty B with Invader Zim. You got Kev with Josh Norman. I think it is going to be the defensive side of the ball. I do want to go Harry P. I want to go Harrison Phillips, but at the same time, I think it could be a big game for Jerry Hughes out of the bye as well. The one thing I have faith in, I think we all have faith in, which is why we're not labeling it as the X factor. I think Josh Allen and Dable are going to come out of the bye and execute. I think they're going to be able to execute against this Chargers defense. Whether they ultimately score touchdowns every drive, that is the variability of playing in the NFL and, actually having the game occur. But I do think we are looking at a game where Josh Allen's going to look comfortable. He's going to be able to execute, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for this offense to do things. That's why I'll be streaming Cole Beasley with Julio Jones out in my fantasy leagues. But with all that nonsense said by me, I will add my X factor as Harrison Phillips. I think that him and Trent Murphy were both inactive a couple weeks ago. It was only about 6 weeks ago. And since then, now you've got Trent Murphy inactive again. But Harrison Phillips is active. So maybe this is a chance. We've seen the last couple weeks, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray getting some pressure out of those four-man rushes. Maybe McDermott and co are finally dialing up the rotations they like. Because you're right, Tybee. They definitely love their rotations. Keeping those guys fresh, it's the method to their badness for sure. So for me, I want to see that Harry P all over Herbert today.
Whoa! But shout out Stephon Diggs, his birthday today. Happy birthday, Stephon Diggs. That's another reason I think he's just going to have a great performance. I couldn't use him as an X factor because he's a top receiver in the league. Everyone
he's an entity. He's like a dependable entity. You can't say
we have the top two receivers, like receptions wise, I believe, in the NFL in this game between Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs. So it's going to be a great game to watch. Should be very exciting. Hopefully the defense comes to play. The secondary is back and healthy finally. So hopefully, that bodes very well. If you get some pressure on Herbert, I like the Bills' chances today.
And Dane Jackson's birthday too.
I'm getting ready to predict this game. I'm ready.
Let's get ready. We're gonna roll into the predictions. Brought to you by Picasso's Pizza, locations all over Western New York. You go to Picasso'sPizza.net. You can get it ordered, and you can get it shipped to you anywhere in the United States, just in time for the holidays. Nothing under the tree. Nothing says giving like some Picasso's Pizza, because it's gonna give me a full stomach once I eat mine. With that said, the Bills, Chargers, 1 p.m. Orchard Park. 51.5. I got the live line now down to -4. I've seen it at -5.5, -5 some spots, so maybe some late action. That's not surprising. The Chargers offense looked decent last week. I think with the bye week, maybe people forget it, so I'll definitely take that down to -4. Let's start with Ty B, go to Kev, and I'll wrap it up. What's your prediction when these two teams face off today in Orchard Park?
Yeah, I think this matchup is a perfect game for the Bills coming out of the bye week. When you look at what the Chargers offer you defensively with the injuries right now, I think this is the perfect opportunity to get this offense clicking at full gear. I think you're going to be able to find Stephon Diggs a bunch today, get Cole Beasley getting some great first down yardage. I think, throw early on those downs like they have been. I think they still have one of the highest splits in the NFL, around 60%. I think that's been very, very good for them this season. Get ahead and then use that running game to get back to the play action. If Singletary and Moss can get going a little bit here, that should really, really open things up over the top and not allow those defensive ends, well, mainly just Joey Bosa, to pin his ears back and get after Josh Allen. And defensively, I think you can match up very well the way the secondary is finally getting into full health. Get some pressure on Herbert, cause him to make some throws before he's ready, and that ball is going to hang up in the wind today. I like the Bills here. I like it to go slightly over. I'm going to go Bills 35, Chargers 20.
Interesting. So I said it on our so I will say this. Chargers people are optimistic. We had Locked On Chargers on the show. David from Locked On Chargers, very optimistic in this game for some reason. There is a misconception that Josh Allen still turns the ball over at will, and that the team plays bad defense. So there's that misconception out there, as we just saw. I actually just saw a tweet maybe 10 minutes ago from a beat reporter saying, sneaky, intriguing game is the Bills-Chargers. Bills should win, but Justin Herbert could put on a show with the Bills struggling to quarterback pressures. Haven't struggled to get to the quarterback lately at all. It's a misconception. They've been good getting
one
the
of the
pressure.
highest pressure rates in the entire league.
And over the last 5
Those
years,
are one of 3 teams, or one of like a handful of teams, like 5 or 6 teams who have positive DVOAs in all 3 categories.
I don't fault that take either, because that's someone who clearly just got a data dump of the quarterback pressures this year. And yeah, probably their numbers on the year are
look
great.
At the sack numbers, maybe.
Yeah.
Sack numbers are still, I think, 9th, and I think they're like 1st in the last 4 weeks, something like that. It's close to those numbers. Ridiculous take, but there is some of that optimism. I'm scared more about a game when no one thinks the other team's going to win and the Chargers are talented. I said it on my pregame show, or excuse me, on our recap crossover edition. 34 Buffalo, 27 Chargers. That's the score I'm going with. That's where I've been. I don't think, talk about bad defenses. Chargers are a bad defense, especially missing those pieces because you're White. We talked about Casey Hayward. We talked about Ingram, and we've talked about Nwosu. Those are 4 important misses for the team. I don't think they have enough defensively. I think it's one of the weaker on paper. If without Bosa, the team would be terrible defensively. It's one of the weaker defense. Chris Harris is coming off an injury. We'll see what he can do. He's going to be covering it hard. We saw him get toasted last year by I think it was John Brown that toasted him last year. So that's what I got, guys. I think it's pretty straightforward. That defense is terrible. I'm sorry. I don't think it's very good, though the offense could present some problems with Austin Eckler. So Bills need to come in, rattle Justin Herbert, play the mush zone coverages, and don't come after him, because he's been like Josh Allen. He's been very good against pressure. The Bills have blitzed a lot. Don't blitz him. Drop off. Confuse him with Hyde and Poyer. He's gotten into some trouble without knowing what the zone coverage is. No man-to-man, so the receivers are good. Zone coverages, drop off, rush 4. That's my keys. And I just don't think they have the defense to get it done. But it's true. It does take 1 or 2 turnovers by LA to get to flip that score, which we can't have. Special teams in the Bills' favor in this game. So they're like last ranked, and that's kind of how I'll leave my prediction, is that they're like last ranked in pretty much every meaningful special teams category.
Hidden yards, baby.
Yep. They allow last special teams. I think Ty loves his DVOA. They're last in special teams DVOA. They allow the third most yards in kick return and punt return. So there are some meaningful statistics there. And I know DVOA likes the Bills. I think they're 10th. I've had my challenges with the Bills special teams units. But they do well returning the ball, and the Chargers struggle there. So the Bills do well returning the ball. I have more problems with the Bills coverage units, but they return the ball well. That could be a key to the game. That's a poor unit. They had back-to-back block punts on the Chargers. Those are some things to watch out for in this game. Special teams needs to play its head and limit the turnovers. That's the only way to get this defense of the Chargers off the field. So limit those turnovers.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm going to make a very Vegas pick. I think that the turnovers are going to play a key factor. I think with Keenan Allen, with Eckler, with Mike Williams, with Hunter Henry, they're going to be able to move the ball. The Bills might miss Milano a little bit today with Henry over the middle. With that said, I think that it's going to be just like the last time the Chargers played at the Bills not last time because that was the home opener 2 years ago, but we're talking about all the way back to 2008, the Trent Edwards era. There's going to be a power outage for that Chargers offense. I'm going to pick a super. This is going to be the most Vegas score pick ever. I am going to go Bills 28, Chargers 23. So if you got the Bills at -5.5, you lost. If you got them at -4, you win. And the over-under goes under by 0.5 point. But Bills 28, Chargers 23 today in Orchard Park.
Wow. Love it.
Folks, keep it tuned to Trainwreck Sports. We've got all kinds of awesome articles on trainwrecksports.com. We've got Kev Messeri and Wake Jackins dominating on the Crowd Assist podcast. Shout out to Wake. He had a personal reason he couldn't make it, but he is pulling for the Bills all the more. And all the
he texted me. He said Bills 345, Chargers -3. I don't know how.
-3.
I don't question his numbers. That guy does a lot of number crunching. So kudos to him.
-3.
And a kudos to all of us. Ty B, Kev M, Maniac, no last name. As we are ready for Bills game day. It's just about 20 minutes away. Gents, anything else to say before we sign off?
Go Bills.
Let's
get it done.
Go Bills.
Kick your heels up and throw your hands up and throw your head back and come on now. The Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout. Yeah, 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 yeah. Shout it right now, baby. Come on, come on. Come on and shout. Yeah, yeah. Buffalo's happen now. We're on the move now. The Bills are happening now. They're making it happen now. You got the spirit, a lot of spirit, yeah. You got the spirit. Just watch it happen now. Hey, 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 hey. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. The Bills make me wanna.
Folks, welcome back. It is the Picasso's Buffalo Football Postgame Show. The Buffalo Bills victorious, victorious over the Los Angeles Chargers. Jake Herbert, 27 21-17, and there was a lot to take in this game, honestly. The Chargers were really never out of it. The Bills were constantly having to defend their position. It felt like, it was a kind of game where I think the first 40 minutes undersold how good the defense was. I know that they did have 2 rather long touchdown drives, but with that said, 14 points through 3 quarters in the NFL, you're always going to take that. Speaking of taking that, Josh Allen stat-wise, only 150 yards passing, but I felt like there's really never a point where he wasn't making plays. I would have liked it if he was a little bit more organized with the game on the line, maybe not fumbling snaps, but that's the type of ball you get from Josh Allen. You're going to get hero ball sometimes, or you're going to have ball that leaves you scratching your head sometimes the next. The one positive I really thought of the game, and again, we're here on the Picasso's Pizza post-game show. Chime in the chat, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, what you guys thought of the game. But really, just a good bye week re-entry. I felt like they were really in control of the game. To be honest, I don't think that they necessarily had the best offensive game plan coming in. The front was getting kind of crushed. Not going to lie, Josh Allen didn't have a lot of time to throw in the first half. The pocket was kind of breaking around him. But with that said, timely play calling, they started dialing up some screens, then the trick play to Cole Beasley, to Gabe Davis, touchdown, and they were basically in control of the game from that point. There was kind of a third quarter lull again, like there has been, but it was better. So I thought the defense was very good. I thought the defense had a strong showing against a team that put up 30-plus on the Jets last week. They only allowed 17, and I get it. They ended the game at the 1-yard line. There were a lot of factors. But in the NFL, all you can do is win the game on your schedule, and as long as they continue to be at 1 o'clock on Sunday, the Bills continue to do that. So speaking of continuing to do that, the Bills have a little time off now. They are off till next Monday when they play San Francisco. Again, location unknown at this point with Santa Clara banning activities contact sport, I believe. December 7th, so it's kind of weird. The next Bills game will be in December. You want to talk about this season coming and going very quickly. Very quickly this season's coming and going. And right now we are beginning the PPTTP, the primetime push to the playoffs, because the Bills have 5 games left on their schedule, and they are 8-3. So are they going to be able to get to 12-4? Could they possibly get to 13-3? Or will they middle out 11-5 around that area again? The Patriots managed to win today. The Dolphins managed to win today. So as far as the division, nothing really changed in that picture. This was just kind of moving the pieces forward on the checkerboard, so to speak. But yeah, a great victory for the Buffalo Bills. I would only say because the defense is supposed to be your bread and butter. So it's great to see them play well and honestly have a decent performance like that. And now I'm there in the middle of the screen. I like that. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Picasso's Pizza. Keep an eye out for the Crowd Assist pod throughout the week. We have UB coverage. They are now 4-0. All roads lead to Detroit, so we will have eyes on that as the MAC championship just 3 weeks away, but the Bulls in the driver's seat at 4-0 with a big win yesterday. Keep an eye on TrademarkSports.com. Joe Kahn's doing a great job with that as well, but it was the Bills that did a great job today. 27-17 the under, and the Bills cover, so that's a little bit more traditional to what we saw in 2019. Our Picasso's player of the game, if we got to give it out, we'll have to see. There could be a couple nominees, honestly. You could give it to Trey White for the pick. He's been a little more quiet this year as far as Trey goes. The whole defense overall played well. I thought Singletary was having his best game until Nate Geary jinxed him, but that's what happens. Sometimes people just get jinxed and you got to deal with it. But again, the primetime push to the playoffs. Bills 49ers, Bills Steelers, Bills Broncos, Bills Patriots, Bills Dolphins. Again, it could come down to that Week 17 game, so keep it tuned here. Keep it locked here at Crowd Assist Pod. Go follow us. Go subscribe on YouTube. I know everybody has a Gmail. Go to YouTube and subscribe with your Gmail. Get all of our alerts and updates there when we go live. But it's a lot to look forward to in the month of December. I don't want to make it all about me, even though that is my specialty. But Bills might have a home playoff game. Bulls might be playing in the MAC championship. That would be 2 of 3 for me to cut my hair. This long hair at last could get cut. And we don't even know when Sabres season is going to start, so let's keep an eye there. Keep an eye on that for as well, because we are going to have all kinds of Sabres press access, as much as they'll let us have in these times where we can't be right up next to Sam Reinhart and Rasmus Dahlin and all that fun stuff. But it's a great time to be a Buffalo sports fan. The Bulls season is underway for basketball. The Bulls season is well underway for football, and the Bills are taking care of business again with a 27-17 win today over the Chargers. We will be updating throughout the week. We might have Victory Monday, Trainwreck tonight, tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. But folks, until next time, let's